Welcome back, fellow armchair generals and railway enthusiasts. I'm back with more Railway Empire, and we're playing the British campaign. I'm playing with my good friend, thenewIKB. Say hi, IKB.
Hello, everyone.
And we're going to be continuing our playthrough here. And our current goal is to get London, which is at 22,000 approximately, to 100,000 residents. So we are going to first, we have plenty of money. Money is not the issue. Let's put a warehouse over here. We need to get wheat to London. So let's put that in. Okay, we're going to use here. Cross bridge that. Railway cut there. Supply towers. Okay, since I did make this a warehouse, what we're going to have to do is tell it what we want to bring in.
Apples as well, yep.
So apples. Now, we have a little bit of a problem. It's not a major problem. I will also do a service maintenance out there. This warehouse accepts apples because it is close enough to the apple, but it won't, and this is a game limitation here, is it won't feed apples from this orchard to the warehouse to the city. So what we need to do here is, and we will at 40,000 citizens need what, lumber, firewood, whatever that is considered. Now, maybe we should do a, I messed up making that a warehouse over there. If we were to do this, can we? Yes, we can connect that. I think this is useful for the firewood and the apples, because otherwise, when we could bring apples from here to here, but I think that would be, well, we're also bringing lumber from here.
And the apples up in Kent could always go to somewhere else, like Cambridge or...
Yeah, they could. Well, I don't know if we want to... Oh yeah, no, we're gonna, the apples, they can go Cambridge, Norwich, and feeding up into, Peterborough or any other direction, because I'm thinking of looping up around that way as well. Okay, so I guess for the moment, though, what we're going to do is go to the London warehouse here. We're going to accept wheat coming in, and we're going to set up a train here from there to this warehouse, but we're going to not accept delivery of apples, so it won't load apples, so we won't be bringing...
We won't be shuffling apples back and forth.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. We still may need to do another train. I don't know. And we're going to go with the John Bull. And so that will get us... Let's let things go here a bit. Oh, what did I do?
I think it was apples from 12. So
Oh, that. Oh. Okay, so I thought it was not.
I think that's not to load. So then do that.
Okay, what I'm going to now do is, because of maybe the needs for more apples in London, we're going to exclude apples entirely. I guess it'll do one load of apples. That'll be fine. So it won't pick up, or I was, wait, it's been a while since we've been playing. I thought that was what it, not so much load, but accepted. So it was a warehouse. So that'll load that. Now, I keep hitting the wrong key. So I don't want to delete anything at the moment. Now we need to hook up Cambridge into the system here. So a station.
Now, which way do you want to attach Cambridge to the network?
Yeah, that's the question. I'm not
Do you want to head sort of straight for London, or do you want to try and splice them into Northampton or Peterborough, or
yeah,
you can go for? Do you even maybe want to try and get a sort of direct-ish route for Oxford? Connect the two universities together, see if that makes them start coming up with more new and interesting ideas.
or would that just cause a war?
I mean, the students might start having a go at each other, but I'm sure it wouldn't be too bad.
Okay, well, I'm also looking. If we do want to hook up to Peterborough, at least.
Or do we want to sort of Peterborough out from the north and then maybe head sort of south towards London?
Yeah. See. Also worried about getting around the dairy farm there.
The milk, yes.
Yes.
Because at some point we will need to get milk plumbed into the network.
Yeah, but that's going to be in our cargo network,
and our
freight
cargo network, yes. So
yeah.
we're going to need to make sure we leave enough room for.
Yeah. Because if we come down this way here around south and then loop up to there, or do we come north around and okay, well, we can move the milk that's going to go to London at some point, presumably. That can come sort of straight south and hook into the rail line down this way and hook into the warehouse 12, maybe that path. And then going north from it, they can just go over the railway. So I'm thinking we hook this somewhat like that. Okay, something like that. And then
and sort of try and snake our way around the contours.
Yeah, I am paying attention to that to a degree. No, I think we should move this. No, let's just trash the whole thing. Let's start again. I think I want to come a little more. This way, because I want to try to avoid whatever river this is. I'm not sure. I know this is the Thames.
This is the Thames, yeah.
Thames. Yeah, it's coming through there. I know that.
I want to try and hook round and get parallel with the
Yeah.
Thames to come into London.
Yeah. Just come around this way here. Oh. Oh.
We're gonna have to go over or under.
Well,
I think
no, I'm more worried about what I was. Let's stop this. What I was planning on building
with
was
the
a train station.
logs.
Yeah, for these two places here.
Might be worth having to put that station in and then putting that station in now and then building over the top of it on some
Yeah,
bridge.
I think you're right about that. Okay, we'll put that in there. Well, we'll delete that for the moment. Let's just... There's a 4% grade, but nothing we can really do about that at the moment. Okay, that's connected. Oh shoot, I even messed that up. We're going to delete all of this. Get a refund back. It shouldn't be a warehouse. It should be just a large train station.
You sure? Don't we want it to be a warehouse to suck in all the...
No, because it's not feeding into London, and I think that'll just be a...
Right, so he's going to put a large train station here as an interchange then.
Yeah, just to load that up. Okay. There we go. Oh, it's 5% grade. I don't know why. Just minutely where we placed it. Change that. Okay, well, now that tells us where that is, obviously. But how we need to work around it. We're still at the stage that the powers of the engines...
Yeah, this is still, reasonably early 1800s. Locomotives are not good at climbing hills yet.
Right, and so...
And will not be for a good maybe 40 years even, before you start getting things that can tolerate maintaining a decent speed over severe, this is railway idea of railway severe, so that's what's quite a shallow grade for a road vehicle is actually really quite steep for rail transport.
Don't think this is going to work, IKB.
No, I don't think it is, no. Unless we try and...
They're just not wanting us to build a bridge over the station. And I don't want to come way... Well... Do we come way... But the problem with doing this is just increasing the distance. So much so, yeah, I think that increases the distance too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope everyone enjoys us trying to figure out these things, because...
There are plenty of examples of stations that are built on, under, or actually in some cases on bridges.
Right. And building a station on bridges and whatnot would be a difficult thing to do, I'm absolutely sure. But building a overpass wouldn't be
terribly difficult. But there are,
Okay.
I mean, even the... do we want to go under?
No,
Which way
is
going to give us the better...
Okay, let's...
What's going to give us the better gradient? That's the question.
Yeah, let's see if we raise that up a bit, raise this up a bit. Okay, 9 and 6. That's just increasing height without giving us a benefit there. Nope, that's going way too much. So I guess we're looking at 9 and 6. 9 degrees and 6 degrees over that.
Yeah, 6% grade. That's still.
Well, yeah, well, the 9% is, yeah, that's going to be hell getting out. I don't know of a good way around it.
I can't think of one either. Unless we were to try and come, swing a little bit further west so that we could maybe have the bridge a bit further.
Yeah, that could be. Okay, well, let's see if we, yep, I think we can do that. Okay, there we go. And let's see, yeah. Make it, yeah, okay, so now we're down to 7 degrees.
And we then see, can we get away with lowering the bridge
okay, let's see if we raise this up. No.
No, I was just giving us a 50.
Yeah, no, back to, shift, remove track point, there we go. Okay, so there we go.
7, that's not nowhere near as bad as it was.
Yeah, no, it isn't, but I think it's what we have to live with. Okay, so we'll do that.
Now, of course, having connected up, the wheat and all the various other farms into London is part of what enables sustainable growth within the larger cities.
Mm-hmm.
There
Absolutely.
Prior to this time, yes, cities had large populations, but there were an awful lot of people who would move to the city for work and subsequently die, either because they couldn't find work and then ended up on the streets as beggars, starving or such. There was not a huge there wasn't the ability to move the quantity of food and other resources into the city that the actual population they had demanded.
Yes, that's a real issue, and I don't know. Oh, let's pause this for a moment because I want to talk for a minute. I don't really know the real population of London, say in the 1830s. I'm sure it was big, but as you're saying, the sustainable growth. Now, I think they estimate the population of ancient Rome sort of at its height that may have got to 1 million people. I'm not quite sure if that's correct, but it was very large. But if you understand, and it's very much what IKB is talking about, sustainable food, food becomes the main issue for Rome, even in the time of Julius Caesar, before the empire is officially the empire. And they're pulling in food from all around the Mediterranean into the port of Austria, which Rome is sort of inland up the Tiber River there.
Yeah.
And so they build because Rome has concrete that we have still not been able to fully replicate, but is able to be poured underwater and hardened underwater. And particularly in salt water, it actually gets harder and stronger. And so they developed this concrete that is until Portland cement comes around in, the 1830s, 18 whatever, that they don't really have a proper concrete as in that type, as opposed to what we now, I guess, refer to, because it is a concrete, but sort of mortar that you put in between, whether it's bricks or stones for castles or brick buildings, and it's sort of an independent concrete that can just be poured on its own. Doesn't come around. We don't rediscover that ability at all, and they still, because they use some of the ash from under Rome. There's huge tunnels that they tunneled out all of this ash material to make the concrete that then gets exported around the empire, because of the volcanic activity in Italy. And so they're able to make these artificial ports, and Austria is one of them. And they're sucking in food from, at that time, Tunisia was very much a food producer. Places like Egypt, which still are a food producer today, wheat particularly, and they were importing it using the Mediterranean, as it were, as a railroad to get everything to Rome. Where if you had built, oh, I don't know, the city in Madrid or the city in Londinium at the time, geographically, you can't get that much food there because London is sort of out on the edge, where Rome is sort of in the center of a network of ports. And so they use shipping to do that, and they're able to achieve it only because of the empire. And so when you look at, say, Renaissance Rome has, I'm just going to guess here, something, because it's been a long time since I've heard this, something like 100,000 people, major city in the Renaissance, but nowhere near the scale of Greater Rome during the Empire, because although there may be a lot of shipping going around in the Renaissance, it's not a centrally organized politically sense like that. So that's able to do that. But that Rome is a rare thing indeed, at least in the European sense. And London, to my knowledge, is one of the first mega cities happening, because there's nothing in Germany in the 1830s like this. Berlin is a sort of the small city. Paris is pretty damn big, and that would be, in my understanding, the only real rival in scale. Do you have anything on that, IKP?
Well, I've pulled up the population history data for London, and so 1831, so only 2 years back in game time,
right,
the population of London was 1.8 million, basically.
Okay.
And it 10 years later, you're up to 2.2.
Okay.
And then
So
10 years later, so that's 1841. And then by 1851, you're up to 2.6. And then by 1861, you're up to 3.1.
So
and it more or less continues in a quite steady upwards from there until almost the present day. It dips slightly in the 80s and 90s, but it sort of peaks around the 8 million in about the 1950s.
right. And so it just, the railway has that first big spike, like you're talking about, that allows for food to come in cheaply and effectively enough. And the reason, and it is sitting sort of like Rome at a center of a trade empire, because Britain definitely conquers land, absolutely, but at its heart, it's a trade empire, not a, like Russia. Russia's a land empire that, of course, it trades within itself, but doesn't have nearly the trade idea that even the French Empire has, which is not nearly as big a trade empire as Britain. So yeah, and that allows food to come in and the other necessities of life.
Because it is also, Portland cement. The other thing we're sort of talking about, that really gets rolling in the 1840s. Which is then another very useful thing, because it's Portland cement that is used to cement all the bricks together to build London's sewer network, which is another part of the whole logistics of running a, for the time, modern city, of what do you do with all of the, human waste.
Oh yeah, no, that's a major thing. Dealing with that, getting rid of it, but also keeping the water supply clean, while the incoming water supply clean while doing that. And that's another major element. And now, again, jumping back to Rome, the Tiber is, at least south of Rome, managed enough to be able to bring barge traffic up into Rome. But I don't think it's a clean river going out, but where it has a lot of more tributaries coming into it, that Rome turns into aqueducts, not just allowing, a stream situation to continue coming in, they convert most of those to aqueducts to bring the water in from a relatively clean source into the center, the heart of the city, and keeping that entirely separate, which London does not do, like you say, before the incoming of Portland cement, incoming of a modern technology. They are still relying upon, I don't know, essentially Middle Ages water system.
Yes, they do. There are, even at this point, there are some of the sort of tributaries in around the Thames in and around London are starting to be sort of essentially built over. There are sort of so say lost rivers in London these days, where they have literally the entire length of that watercourse heading into the Thames has had whole sections of it roofed in.
Mm-hmm.
That are now essentially built into part of the sewage or storm drain network. And that's another similar thing that's happened in several other large cities around the UK, including in Bristol and I believe in parts of Birmingham and Liverpool and other major cities on rivers, where the need for building room gets so extreme, gets so intense, the need for more land space that build it, roofing in a section of river becomes a financially viable thing to do to get more space to build. Okay, meat industry in Nottingham. Do we want to?
Yeah, let's buy this. I think we have the money, and it may bring us an income in.
And we can then run meat down towards London, which I'm assuming they will start wanting at some point.
Yeah, well, we already have Oxford closer for that same source, but just we're owning it so that we get to profit from it. Let's take a look around, since it's now we'll get even more profit, making sure local demand is fulfilled. Looking like it is. I think that may be part of the problem with some of this. Okay, okay. Like almost everybody has a meat industry. Yeah, looks like everybody has a meat industry. Maybe. Well, let's take a look at this. No, what I want to do here is look at our industry buildings. Maybe we want to, since we are flush with cash here,
maybe we want to start
building something else here.
Let's see, what does we look at what London wants, because the more stuff we put into London, the faster it's going to grow.
Right.
If we look at what London's demanding, and then look if there's somewhere reasonably close by that we could build.
Okay, well, let's see. At 40,000, we need to get to 100,000. Well, at 60,000, they're going to want cut lumber. At 55,000, they're going to want clothing. At 35,000, tweed, which makes clothing. Okay, so I don't think we're going to open up any new areas. So we have Liverpool and Manchester with tweed. So if we convert here, it's expensive, but if we convert, and we don't need it yet, but no one really needs the export of ham. And these guys, how are they doing? Okay, they could use cloth. I mean clothing, not just
clothing. Yeah. So maybe we should build a tailor shop then in Nottingham.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna come here. We're gonna demolish this. Yes, pay the money. It's expensive, but we need the slot. We're gonna get a tailor's shop. Hopefully this is a good spot. I'm just thinking if we want to build another. Yeah. Hopefully that would. Okay, so now we have a tailor shop here. Close this. No, let's here. Okay. They need well, they got plenty of wool. They're not big enough. We own both of these. Let's expand. Here we're using up a lot of our money, but I think it's good to do so. And well, let's expand here. Okay, that drained us a lot of funds. But so now both of these will be or have expanded, so they will increase their production. And now what we'll do is add another, because there's already, I'm sure, trains going between here. But what we're going to do here, particularly in Manchester, because it's closed. Oh, this is with the old style. Okay, we need to specify that track.
I'm going to need weed on the way out.
And yeah, make sure give that the priority.
And then cloves on the way back.
Well, right now I'm just going to let it naturally pick going back. But there won't probably be any cloth currently available. But yeah, I just don't like these earlier style of stations, and I gotta manage that. Okay, so right now it's just moving passengers because there's no cloth yet, but that should naturally develop over time. Okay, London is growing. I'm going to increase one more train coming from here to the warehouse. We're going to specify no apples. Oh,
have we set in a train from Cambridge yet?
Yes, we have right here. We have a train going from Cambridge to London, and one from London coming back up to Cambridge. So it's going both directions. You know, going in each direction.
So all the students can disappear down to London for partying during the weekend, which I am sure will drive their schoolmasters mad. But
right,
that was one of the objections to the coming of the railways, was that the youth would be able to easily get to the big cities and indulge in drink and women and various other things.
And of course, that was a major objection. Well, I want to make sure here. No, that's not it. Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure this train coming to where does not pick up wheat and bring wheat back.
Because we don't want to be shipping that away from London.
No. Yeah, coming to the automobile, that was a big concern too, was the youth and automobiles. Okay, Norwich would like to be connected. They're going to offer us £390 to get connected to the network.
I mean, we would probably have to connect them into the freight side of it, and then maybe run a parallel line down to.
Well, I don't know. Let's see what we can do here with
might be a bit squeezed for space station wise.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do the other style. Yeah, I think we're going to need to come here for a
station without the
yeah, too many rivers, because if we gotta. Okay, so what we need to do here is, well, they're not going to need, well, I don't know. I think we're going to just connect through Cambridge to London for that traffic, and then up to Peterborough. So most of this is going to go north. So okay, and I think we'll just end up putting a warehouse behind Norwich when we do. So let's do large train station so we have enough platforms, I guess is what I was looking for. Okay, come out to here.
Now, of course, this sort of area of the country is actually very, very flat.
Right. Isn't it called the Fens or something like that?
Yeah, this is the Fens, which are very very flat, and you were originally sort of very salt marsh and like boggy, and were actually actually reclaimed. And if you think but roughly where they are geographically, even though we can't really see it on this map, they're more or less directly opposite the Netherlands, and it's a very sort of similar scheme to what's been done over there with a lot of big dikes and drainage ditches.
Right.
But it is known for being very, very flat.
Which is good for part of this, but then we have to climb up out of the fens.
You do have to climb up out of the fens.
Let's see if we can get this. Okay. Oh, well, we've gotten that all the way down to there. That's going to be hugely expensive. Well, yeah. Okay, there we go. We're going to bridge. We're going to create a massive, massive, almost 90,000 pound bridge. That's going to go across a lot of the countryside there. I guess that would technically be a viaduct, not a.
Technically be a viaduct, yes, but that would be a I mean, given how of marshy some of the places around there still would be, and are still, even today they have problems with the fact that as the land that has been drained dries out, it sinks because it contracts where it loses all the moisture content. And they have to keep building the dikes higher.
I didn't realize that, but that does make sense that they're having problems with the.
So it is a place of continuous engineering challenges that have been going on for sort of since the 1600s, but have kept having to be updated during the 18th and 19th century.
Okay, well that got some of our costs back, which is nice. So what we're going to do here is let's put a train from Norwich to Cambridge. And on the Norwich side, okay, just let it naturally pick a station that it wants to go to. And then we'll create another one from Cambridge to Norwich, but we'll look at Norwich to see that we'll put it in the other track that isn't being used. So we'll have them going in each direction. Yep.
You can hire a security guard.
Yeah, I'm sort of ignoring security guards, I think, at the moment. I hope we're not going to have much banditry in London here, or in Britain. Okay, now we're going to build for the future. So instead of using that bridge and railway system, we're going to use the other set of tracks. We're going to come
cross over and head.
Let's head out and around here a little bit more.
Want to head for Peterborough sort of way?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Okay,
15%.
That's not looking good for. No way. Ooh, okay, that's better.
There we go.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to get across there without a. Why is it?
This is dipping down into the estuary, so it's going to be very
Okay, so okay, good. I needed to know that. That is important.
This is going to be very probably want to get as low down as possible, and then make your bridges as short as be. And then can we
Okay, there. Let's.
I think we might just need to raise up the middle in between the two bridges.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay, well, let's.
Automatically, I guess that onto a 4 and a 3. What happens if we raise them up?
Okay, there's a.
I guess that's a 1 and 1.
Yeah.
What are we looking at on the other side?
Expensive, but yeah, okay, not bad. Okay, this is
And if we raise up a little bit between those two bridges.
No, it doesn't help because it just moves the 3 to the other side.
Yeah.
So
That's still pretty good.
yeah, I think we'll live with that for gradients. So yeah, okay, there we go. That is that connection. Let's we need to get the points.
Yeah, we are going to have the problem of probably not being able to connect the line that peels off southward to the one that heads over to Peterborough. We're going to have to remember which platforms you run things into there, and the stuff from.
Well, what we have it set up is the Peterborough ones are the opposite, are currently unused, as you can see here. So it's sort of how I planned that.
So they won't conflict. That in future.
And so
when we start adding things.
Yeah, and so what I think we're also going to do here is, don't know quite the actual demand, but we're just going to build this. Let's build a connection ability up to Hull for whatever levels of commerce between cities, passengers, or goods, or whatever else it may need. So there we go. So that connects them fairly well into the system. So we're going to go from Norwich to Peterborough. And it'll automatically pick that and load up. Oh, they're already exporting some cider. Good.
Cider.
And back here. And again, yes. Okay, so we're going to use that platform. And they're going to be bringing ham in. Very good. And now up to Hull. And that's a cider to a cider, so that and they are okay. Yeah, they're already. So we got to look at the platforms. Okay, they're about even. So whatever it randomly, they're even. So we'll allow it to determine itself because it's no real choice that we can intelligently make. Okay. Yeah.
Now, do we want to make sure we've added maintenance facilities and water towers and stations?
We do. We do.
As we double check our recent construction as well to make sure we add those in.
Yeah, we need to do that. You're absolutely right. I forgot to add some of that along here. That is part of the reason I keep you around. To make sure that
because you really do not want your steam locomotives running out of water, because then you get bad things happening like boiler explosions.
Right.
Which are not nice.
Right. Okay, so there's some signal stations. We have a water, and let's add a maintenance facility here. Okay. So they're going there. Oh, we got to go back to no. It'll be Hull. So abandon it. There we go. No engine. Okay, that's what we want to look at. Okay, Hull. Okay, we want to go to the 48 and the 22. Yeah.
And we need to add a locomotive.
And they're waiting for clearance as well right now. That's sort of the problem with this, in my opinion, because it will flow. Sometimes it'll be a problem like now, and other times it won't be.
Right.
Okay, so they're moving just some passengers and mail back and forth, but keeping them connected.
Okay, now, I do think perhaps maybe we should, to satisfy Arno when he watches this later, perhaps maybe we should have a ride along over some of our on new
Okay,
construction.
we can do that. But okay, well let's do that right now. Let's create a new train from Norwich into, I don't know, London 2 is what we're currently calling it. Yeah, we'll just specify that track. So we'll just have one train coming in through here because we won't overly burden the system, but a direct link there. And I picked the wrong station to start with, but whatever.
Now, of course, another part of railways enabling cities to grow bigger is that having commuter railways and such bringing people into your city means that you can have people living further out but still being able to commute into the centre for work.
Absolutely.
This is something that continues even to this day with, sort of boundaries for sort of, how far out someone is willing to commute into a city gets pushed out further and further as you get better transport links.
Absolutely. And I'm sure things like I'm going to say happen back with railways, but with automobiles coming in, it even expands it more. Not just so much the commuting in and out of the city, which is a definite plus, but is, how do I put this? Prior to the automobile, you would want to have your tailor shop very close to, say, your clothing manufacturer because you're moving your goods within, I'm talking within a city from, one part to the other part, from the cloth warehouse to the, tailor shop, if you will. But once you have automobiles and basically delivery trucks, you're able to increase the radius of easy movement of goods around within a city that allows that to grow without jamming everyone in on top of each other. That's a nice dairy farm over there with some silos.
Yes, looks far too modern and far too American to be fitting into somewhere in East England.
Yes, I can imagine.
But the idea of having commuters commuting into the heart of a city by train, that got started very quickly. And it became, they almost did for a little while become sort of a niche breed of what starts out as, small tank locomotives that very quickly end up growing to greater and greater sizes as there is a need for a locomotive to pull a train that can accelerate very quickly to reasonable speed, but that doesn't have to actually be able to sustain that very far without being able to refuel and rewater. Which eventually leads to the development of larger and larger tank locomotives, and then which you get to the point where they're sort of, in terms of power output, if not range, they are in some ways similar to some of the lower end of mainline express locomotives in terms of the sort of speed they can maintain. And that sort of goes on for a little bit, and then you very quickly hit the idea of using electric railways in city commuting, and that sort of takes over that side of things.
Now, here's just a question that you made me think of with electric. How much did that, which I'm not disputing in any way, so there's a nice picture of the tower. Well, no, not tower. Big Ben's tower. Big Ben is
Yeah.
actually the bell that goes bong, but the and then the tower is Tower of London, the castle next to it. I do know that's and one thing we are sort of watching here is how bad the gradient is. Okay, now this is going pretty damn quick. Okay, so it's going up out of there quick. Okay, let's pause this here. How much did the impetus, like you're talking about, of relative acceleration, deacceleration, and because the train doesn't carry its own electricity, it's not a bunch of batteries sitting in it like an electric car. It's running off of whether it's an overhead, in some cases, or a on the track power cable that they're connecting to. How much did that contribute to it versus trying to go underground and not asphyxiate the passengers while going underground, or just cover them in coal dust,
I mean,
traveling?
the third rail in the UK, it does come down to you know, the initial bits of building the underground through London. They do use steam locomotives, but they use ones that are designed to basically recondense their steam back into water.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the original bits of the London Underground are not very deep. They are essentially built by cut and cover, where they
Right.
went along, dug a trench, and then put a ceiling over the top of it. It was
Right.
strong enough to take the weight to the street above.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite easy to, in places, have a sort of pop up to have a section that was in the open that would allow the steam and the smoke to disperse.
Mm-hmm.
There are even I think it's somewhere in Kensington in London. There's a very famous of facade set of houses that look like houses from the front, but they're actually only about a they don't actually go back the full depth, because immediately behind them is one of these railway cuttings, essentially, where it's open to the air to let the steam and smoke disperse. But it's only when they start having to drive the tube lines much deeper under London, where they can't have such ventilation, that they start having to seriously consider using an electric system. But even outside of going specifically going underground, there is around sort of London and sort of the southeast, and spreading out a little bit into the West Country, there is quite an extensive third rail electrified system that
Okay.
was, to a certain extent, was built because the sort of railways in that area didn't have. I mean, they still had a demand for freight traffic, but they didn't have as huge of a demand for freight traffic, and a lot of their revenue came from passenger services. And it was a case of, okay, it was a case of sort of needing faster acceleration to get into London,
Mm-hmm.
which is what a lot of this stuff was based on. And there is even I think what was at the time the Great Northern Railway, a sort of see-off competition from a railway that wanted to build an electrified line into London, basically go ahead and build and sort of, I'll call it experimental, because there is no way you would ever have gotten the thing into revenue earning service, because it was overweight and could barely carry enough water. But they build this insane 10-wheeled of overgrown tank locomotive that is purely designed about being able to accelerate a train of a given weight up to a given speed within a set distance, purely to be able to turn around and say to Parliament, look, we can match these timings with a steam engine, therefore this line is invalid, and to sort of get that proposal for a competitor line shut down.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, steam locomotive, you can do a lot with them, but really rapid acceleration and then deceleration for short stops is not something they are good at.
Right.
Whereas with an electric system, that is a lot easier.
Yeah, I've never thought of it in that way, and that's very interesting. Okay, what I've done here is I've added this connection here because otherwise, to get from Liverpool to Nottingham, which is our clothing manufacturer, which they have an abundance of cloth right now, needed to go up to Leeds and then back down. So hopefully this won't cause a traffic jam, but I think we're just being hopeful more than realistic. But let's be hopeful here, and we may have to tweak some of this. Let's get that. Knowing they're waiting for track clearance, and I already did give them a less jammed up track to go on there. No, we're not buying an orchard right now.
Especially not one all the way off in.
Yeah, oh yeah, up here we don't need to. Okay, so let's only move in one cloth. Now I did specify cloth as a high priority. Just they need more cloth in Nottingham. And I think what we're going to do here is let's look. They're current. Okay, they've got plenty of cloth. Okay, they're not.
We want to
we're making
look
some.
at Manchester, see if there's anything else Manchester is demanding.
Yeah, so no, they just don't have enough cloth down here to meet their current needs.
Do we maybe need to look at Manchester and Liverpool and just think of maxing out the upgrades on the weaving looms to just make sure they have enough?
I honestly don't think it's a supply problem.
It's a getting it there problem.
I think, because I'm looking here at Manchester. Okay, close this out. And they have 5.7. They need 1.1 currently, and they're jammed up with wool. So, yeah, so they got plenty of wool, more wool than they can handle. And they're making more than they need, but for some reason, this train did not load more cloth.
Let's see. Once it makes the first run, it might figure out.
Yeah,
that's where it's got to go.
Okay, Nottingham to Manchester here. Let's specify lots of.
And that is a lot of. Is there any room to squeeze in another station in Manchester?
Not really. That's part of the problem.
Mechanical interlocking tower. We should definitely buy that for safety reasons.
Okay, we'll get that. I think we're gonna automatically win that. So we have no competitor. Okay, so we have that. We're still going through our research, and that is this one here. So transportation freight fee goes up by 8%.
Yeah, that's very important to have mechanical interlocking, which is a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, no.
But that is sort of essentially interlocking in the railway sense is making sure that your points and your signals are interlocked mechanically, so that you can't have the point set to go one way and the signals telling the train to go the other. Essentially,
right.
And it sort of sets it up so that you have you then have to release certain points and signals before you can then move others to make sure that things don't end up crashing into each other. And it's essentially the 1800s equivalent of safety interlocks for of computerized safety locks, but entirely done mechanically. So it is sort of, in many ways, it's sort of the birth of mechanical computing and sort of logic gates and such. It's very much like that, but all being done with, again, by mechanical means.
Right. And that is something, I don't think a lot of people understand. Okay, so now we have a train going with two loads of cloth. So up here, I guess they're getting some cloth going that way. The other idea is to ban the exportation of cloth to other cities to focus it, but I think maybe we've got this enough. Not that we have to meet all the demand down here in Nottingham for cloth. I want to meet at least some of the demand to get that into production better. Okay, so let's come back down to London. We're still on a growth pattern for London. Okay, we now need meat in London, beef particularly.
Yes.
Okay, so we've
got to keep the beef eaters at the Tower of London fed.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so
the crown jewels are not going to guard themselves.
Right. Okay, so what we want to do is, I think, connect Banks fattening to the freight network here, and let's see what we can.
Set gamer, I appear to have lost connection. I can't see your Right, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, try a reload or something. Leave Discord and come back if you need to, or
I don't know what that's done. Give me a sec. I will disconnect. I will be.
Sure thing. While we're waiting for that, we will see about.
Okay.
I hear you again.
Let's see if this will load.
Because the one thing it does say, the stream is still running here on my end.
It's still saying it's live. Two of us. Oh. Right, well, while this loads, I guess we'll just have to keep going as best we can. So must go on.
Well, we're gonna probably need to end the episode real quick here. So, anyways, okay, we're gonna try to get over. I don't like that. Okay. We're right now, we're the beef right north of Oxford is what we're trying to connect up without having to go too steep to get over some rails. Actually, let's move that to there and this to here. Oh boy. Okay, well. I think we're going to have to live with a... Okay, we got a 5 and 6% grade, but we have a viaduct that goes across half of England, it looks like. Not quite.
I'm sure it looks beautiful, gamer. I'm sure it looks beautiful.
Yeah. Let's put a parallel track there. And that we'll set this up here to come in to the warehouse system here. Let's see, because it's all viaduct. Put a supply tower there. Okay, there we go. Banks fattening. We have a train from there into the London warehouse. We're going to accept beef. And we're going to add a locomotive. There we go. And they're loading up and bringing in beef. Okay, well, we're going to be ending the episode here. I hope everyone's enjoyed our interesting talk on infrastructure, population growth, and the development of the modern world. Thanks for watching. Say goodbye, IKB.
Goodbye, everyone.
And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and really help us a lot if you would share this video out on some social media platform so that we can get more viewers, because IKB and I like making these types of videos and talking about the history and development of something other than just warfare, if you will, and how it's affected humanity in its growth. So thanks so much. See you next time for more historical gaming.